We are here. We are back. And we are live, baby. What is going on, people? How y'all doing? We are back in the cut. Welcome to another episode of VypDrive. I know the podcast has been a little rare since it returned, but we're coming back full force. We got our man Andrew in the back here, ready to rock and roll tonight. So we're going to have a good hour of tech chat. And whatever else happens and comes up in the cut, y'all know how we do. We'll give you guys a couple of minutes to file in, and then we'll go ahead and begin the podcast. I see my man Jason C out there. What's up? How you doing? We got Genosis, my man Big Cloud Gaming in the building. What's up, bro? How you doing? We got Red Che up in there. What's up, bro? What's up? We got Elvid A out there. What's up? Technically T. What's up, bro? How you doing, baby? How y'all doing? Woo! Y'all don't waste no time. I appreciate it. Y'all don't waste no time. What's up, Joseph? How you doing? Y'all are quick with it. Y'all don't waste no time. Y'all hitting. Y'all see the live notification. Y'all in the building. Hey, Exquisite Bliss. How you doing? How are y'all doing? How y'all doing? That's right. The podcast is back. We in the building. We ready to rock and roll. Got a guest tonight. We're going to go ahead and have them tech chat. Since we got like 13 people in the cut, we'll go ahead and let me take a drink real quick and we'll go ahead and begin with the festivity. All right. Woo. So, this is VypDrive episode 135. And 135 brings a new member to the 100K club on the podcast. That's right. He's here. He's in the back. And he's ready to talk to your boy Viper, the man about tech. VypDrive. Start now. What's up, people? This your boy Viper, the man about tech, and welcome back to another episode of VypDrive. This is the podcast about tech, hosted by the man about tech. And tonight, I have a laptop expert in the building. Like I just alluded to in my introduction, this man just crossed 100,000 subscribers on YouTube, which most of you all realize is no easy feat. But he did it. He's in the building. We got him here. This man is one of the most well-dressed people in the tech space. Let's bring in my dude, Andrew, Marc, David. What's up, bro? How you doing?
Good, Vipe. How you doing?
I am good, man. Thank you for taking the time to join me tonight. I appreciate you.
Well, let me say, after an introduction like that, then you've arrived on YouTube as a creator, because this is the place to be. That's for sure. Once you're on VypDrive, it's all downhill from here. That's for sure.
You play too much, man, but I appreciate you. Thank you. So, Andrew, first question I ask every first-time guest that comes to the podcast, the people need to know, Andrew, what brought you to YouTube?
Oh, well, that's a good question. I'm sure you get the same generic answer. Oh, I love tech and everything. I actually, to show you how my age or whatever, how dated I may sound, I actually started on an Apple IIc way back when as a kid. So I had an Apple IIc, and then I had a Macintosh SE30, the box, the gray box, whatever it was, and loved it, and just piqued my interest as a child in about computers. But back then there was no readily available internet or anything like that. Fast forward, so I was in the legal field and so forth as my profession, and then fast forward to late 2015, I picked up my camera. I had a Canon T5 Rebel, I believe it was, and I just decided, you know what, I'm going to start making videos. I saw people on YouTube making videos late 2015, and back then, the YouTube Partner Program wasn't hard to get into. All you needed to do was basically sign up, have an email address. AdSense, you just basically had to have a physical address or what have you, and that was it. There was no hour requirement. There was no subscriber quota and so forth like you have now. So it was a lot different back then. So I did my first 100 videos in the beginning of 2016 throughout 2016, and they were horrible. I mean, my first 100 videos, I kept them up for posterity, but I can't watch them. They're on. In fact, my first unboxing video, I had a case for an iPad, and I looked at it for 15 minutes, pretty much, the box. I didn't open it, and if I look at it now, I just want to scream at the at the screen. Open the damn box. You know, what the hell am I just ranting on and on about? So, but they weren't good. The audio was terrible. I didn't know what the hell I was doing. I didn't know how to edit properly. I didn't know how to get any of the audio visuals right. And I went out and I did the biggest cardinal sin. I spent a lot of money on very fancy equipment, didn't know how to use it. And eventually, of course, I figured it out. I eventually was able to find my audience, find my voice. I started to go in front of the camera, which is a big thing. Some people don't like to do that. So once I started doing that, I think my first year I got about 8,000 subscribers, which isn't bad, I guess, for the first year.
Yeah.
But YouTube was a very different place back then in 2016 than it is now. So the algorithm was totally different.
Yep.
I could have one video go viral. Nobody could have heard of me. And I could get all of a sudden like 80, 90,000 views on one video and never replicate it again for maybe another 2 years. So it made no rhyme or reason. It made no sense. But that first year, I just did the work, put in the grind, grind and do everything you got to do,
Yep.
and was able to find an audience. And so I was doing a lot of like cheap end, like Chinese laptops, all this, budget branded, stuff that was not very good, but it was a great training ground for me to get to the more established brands and so forth, to get their attention as well. So the first couple of years were, pretty rough. The second year in 2017, I started to make more strides. Once I hit 10,000 and 20,000 and so forth. So, but, I started off doing those cheap Chinese laptops and then started to do more like mobile phones, started to get some traction there. But then eventually I settled in on laptops, which is where I am pretty much now.
Okay.
Although I still review other things,
Gotcha. Okay. So, Viper, you need to edit this part of the podcast. Now, I figured out what's going on with your microphone. Your microphone is not coming out of the right source. You are not using the Rode. I don't know. You're using something else, whatever it is, and not the Rode.
Okay. Let me double check what my source is.
Yeah, we need to figure out what your source is so we can get to the right one.
So that's the problem.
Yeah.
You are correct.
Yep.
Okay, how's it now?
Oh, yeah. There we go. That's more like you, baby. That's more like you. Woo! Nice.
Okay. So that's why there was a problem. I had it on the wrong microphone.
Yeah.
See, I'm still learning all this stuff.
It's okay. We go get through it. I knew something wrong with my ears. To my ears, I'm like, wait, this is wrong.
Did it sound terrible?
It didn't sound like you were speaking through the road, but now we got you through the road. We are good to go.
Okay. So there you go. All right. Sorry about that.
All right. We'll edit that out. We're good. Cool. So Andrew, it sounds like you did a lot of things to start off your YouTube career. You went from you dabbled in mobile phones. You said you started off with Chinese laptops, and now you settled on laptop. So I'm curious. I'm not really into the laptop game per se. I know about it because I have an IT background. I work in IT and things like that. But what advice would you give an average consumer, Andrew, who is looking for a laptop? Maybe just like, let's say they're looking for a laptop for their kids to go back to school or something like that. What would your advice be, since you are the guru of laptops?
Well, it's a very interesting question because, they range in different prices. Obviously, there's very premium laptops. You could spend thousands of dollars. You could spend under $1,000. You could spend under $500. Right now, what I'm recommending, a lot of these AMD Ryzen laptops that are coming in at a great price, great performance, and have a lot to offer over, say, something like Intel. Ryzen 4500, Ryzen 5 4500U, or something with a Ryzen 7. A good example would be the HP Envy X360, which is a 2-in-1 convertible. Recommended that a lot on my channel this year. But the big problem is, and it's a great laptop for students, it won't break the bank, and it also has good performance. You can actually game with these laptops, believe it or not. To some extent, of course. You want to have something with a dedicated GPU to do the AAA titles on the highest settings. But the AMD Ryzen chip this year has made a lot of strides, and I'm looking forward to seeing what they could bring to the table going forward to 2021. So for somebody who's on a budget, doesn't want to break the bank, I would go with something like the HP Envy X360. There's also stuff coming out from Lenovo, like the Slim 7 that I recently reviewed on my channel. Check it out. And another great offering in that arena, again, that has a Ryzen 7 on it and absolutely killing it right now. So those are the kind of laptops. There are Chromebooks out there as well that are getting more premium, that are getting pretty expensive, some of them. But again, if you don't want to break the bank, there are less expensive alternatives from HP, Dell, Lenovo. So there are a bunch of them out there.
Gotcha. Okay, so as you are familiar with the smartphone game, the mobile game, you know that here in North America anyway, the two main smartphone OEMs that get the most traffic is Apple and Samsung. So I'm curious, what is the Apple Samsung equivalent in the laptop game? Because obviously you got a bunch of laptop companies out there. Like you said, you got HP, you got Dell, you got Lenovo, you got Samsung, you got Asus. Everybody is in that laptop game. But which brands, Andrew, in your opinion, are at the top of the food chain in the laptop game?
So that's a very good question. And speaking of Apple, they're one of them. I actually use a MacBook Pro 16 to edit on.
Me too.
So a MacBook Pro 16, I have the Core i9, and a lot of people like to put that against, say, something like the Dell XPS 17, which is the Windows equivalent of a premium high-end laptop that can do video editing, that can do gaming. Not a dedicated gaming laptop, but it has the capability. Gorgeous displays, touch display options, 4K or actually UHD plus resolution on that Dell. So it's a lot. It's a fight between Dell, Apple, and to some extent HP, and to some extent Lenovo. But I think it's a real big fight between the Dell XPS 17, Apple MacBook Pro 16, as far as that kind of equivalency between the two.
Interesting. So following up with Lenovo, I think it was either last year at CES or this year early at CES. Lenovo had announced they were coming out, or they are, or might, I don't know if it's out yet, or they are coming out with a foldable laptop. Can you tell us anything about their foldable laptop offering?
Yeah, I actually got a chance back at CES 2020 before the pandemic, or maybe it was during the pandemic, little do we know, back in January, and I got invited to the Lenovo suite here in Las Vegas. I actually live here in Las Vegas. So I got a chance to play with it for about 20 minutes. And I got to tell you something, that thing is a game changer, at least I think. It's actually available to order right now. But it is kind of expensive. It's about $2,500. It's shipping, I think, in a couple of weeks. I'm hoping to get a review unit from Lenovo. But by the time I did have with it, I was very impressed. They have a keyboard accessory that you can use it with. It has a stand built in on it. It has, and the foldable screen is better than I thought it would be back in January. So I don't know what the final shipping product will look like in terms of the quality. But if it's anything like that prototype that I got a chance to check out at CES 2020, then it's pretty exciting. And I think it's going to be a start of a lot of different foldables that we're going to start seeing starting this year and then into next year. So it's very impressive.
Okay. Speaking of foldable, me and you have the same foldable because I have a Galaxy Fold 2 like you do. Ha! Yeah. He knows the procedure.
Right, yeah. You have your Bruce Wayne, right?
That's right. You know what it is. That's right. I got Bruce Wayne in hand. I see you got your Galaxy Fold 2 as well. That's what's up. But okay, so when we talk about the Galaxy Fold 2, Andrew, obviously in this form, it's a smartphone. But when you open it up, it's like a mini tablet.
Yes.
So I guess my question to you is, what is the use case for a foldable laptop? Like, what are we trying to accomplish being able to fold a laptop?
Well, I think it's trying to solve a couple of things. It's trying to solve the not having to carry a tablet and the laptop at the same time. Ooh. Much like with this phone, you don't want to carry a phone and a tablet. So this sort of is the hybrid between the two.
Right.
So what they're trying to do is have that tablet mode when you're out and about, if you want to just surf on the sofa, or you just want to look something up and just want to consume media, you have it. It has the built-in kickstand. But when you want to attach a keyboard to it, you have that ability to get work done. And I think that's what they're going after. Whether or not it will be successful, that remains to be seen. So, but yeah, that's pretty much the use case scenario.
That's kind of interesting because, like you said, normally if we are on a situation, or if we are in a situation where we're at home relaxing, usually we have our smartphones or our tablets right there. But the idea of a foldable laptop, like you said, kind of changes the game because,
Yeah.
even though we have our smartphones and our tablets, neither one of them have the horsepower of a laptop or of a dedicated laptop usually. So
Right.
being able to have something with the dedicated horsepower, with the horsepower, I should say, of a dedicated laptop, which is can be made more compact, so we can use it in pretty much any situation. That's like that's a potential game changer for sure.
Yeah, I mean, there's still a lot of unknowns like battery life. What's that going to be like? What is the performance going to be like? The thermals that, of course, will always play a part in any kind of laptop, two-in-one, and even tablet. So a lot of unknowns. I'm hoping to get one in very soon to check out. I know Dell also had a couple of foldables. They had showed off at CES. But they took a little bit of a different approach on one. They had more like the Surface Neo. I don't know if you remember, Microsoft showed off the two displays, like the Duo, what we recently saw on the smartphone, or they don't want to call it a smartphone, but it is in some sense. And then they had the Neo, which are the two displays, which by the way, that may have been killed by Microsoft. We're not really sure yet. They took that page down. Dell had something very similar. I forgot what they called it, but they also have something where you have two displays connected by a hinge. That looked pretty interesting. They also have a foldable in the works as well that I got a chance to take a look at and use a little bit back at CES. But everything sort of got put on hold with the pandemic and everything. So I think that might have delayed Dell a little bit on that. So, but yeah, I mean, that's where we're heading with the foldables,
Definitely. Shout out to the 24 of y'all that are watching the podcast live tonight. Thank you for joining me for another episode of VypDrive with my man, Andrew Marc Davis. If you want to go check out his content, his channel, his information is in the description. Definitely go check him out. He is legit. I appreciate you guys rocking out each and every week with the podcast. Also, if you want to donate or support the podcast, super chats are open. Although, like I tell you guys all the time, not required. But if you do want to support, whatever you are willing to contribute, always greatly appreciated. Shout out to those of y'all listening on audio only this week. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive with me and my man, Andrew Marc Davis. Appreciate you guys rocking out each and every week on the podcast. If you want to go check out this man's content, if you want to go get the most up-to-date information on laptops and everything like that, definitely go check out his YouTube channel. That information will be in the show notes. He is legit. Check him out for sure. Absolutely do that, do that, do that. Also, if you guys want to support or donate to the podcast, there should be a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes as well. You're not required to donate anything, but anything that you're willing to contribute, as always, greatly appreciated. More importantly, though, for you guys listening on audio, if you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review as to help more people discover the show, get the show into the top 200 of podcasts. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider giving me a rating or review so we can get the podcast out there to more eyes and more ears. And thank you, as always, for listening to another episode of VypDrive. And for those of y'all here live tonight, there is the link to his YouTube channel. Like I said, definitely go check him out. If you want the most up-to-date info on laptops and other technology, the dude is legit. Besides, there's not many people in the tech space that is as well dressed as this man. Dude, look at him.
Thank you.
Look at him, man. He's like styling and profiling like
you have to stand out. You have to.
Okay, so keeping with foldables, Andrew, let's talk about another foldable. I think we can get into the Galaxy Fold 2 a little bit later because obviously, like I said, we both have that one. But I want to talk about another foldable that you recently did a video on your channel about, and that, what you just alluded to a few minutes ago, the Surface Duo. Now, I don't have the device. I've never had one, so I can't give you like firsthand impression and experience because I don't have one. But I know you have one, or you had one.
I don't have it anymore. Yeah.
Okay, but I know you have one. So
yes.
A lot of the initial reviews impression kind of bashed it because of faulty software, different things like that. So it was almost like the Surface Duo literally created a rip in the tech community. You got one side of the community is like, all right, yeah, this is crap, it's trash, don't buy this. And the other side is like, all right, we understand what Microsoft is doing. It might not be ready to go right out the box, but at least we see where they're going with this device. So Andrew, talk to us about your experience with the Surface Duo, because I know you were more on the side of, you see what's going on with it, you know what Microsoft was trying to do. So tell us what they did well with the Duo, and then tell us some things that you think they can improve on with the device.
Right. That's a great question. Well, first of all, yes, I don't have the Duo anymore, not because I didn't like it. I actually did like it a lot if you watched my review of it. It was actually, just a little bit of a side note, I had said on one of my live streams that I couldn't afford to pay for both the Surface Duo and the Fold 2. This is a very expensive device.
Yeah.
So I was going to have to make a decision. Unless Microsoft was going to send it to me, I wasn't going to review it. But one of my very generous and very dedicated viewer, it was a guy named Viral, fantastic guy, said he ordered one from Best Buy. He'll ship it to me so I can review it. I mean, that was pretty amazing. So I was lucky enough that he did that. And so when I got it, I didn't have any preconceived notions about it. I heard some bad things initially from some of the big YouTubers when they first got it. I had a little bit of a concern when they didn't allow anybody to show the software, when they didn't allow any photos to be taken. All they were doing was just showing the hardware. And we really know why. That was because the software wasn't ready.
Right.
But come the release date, it was released, and they did have a release day update, and it actually solved a lot of the issues that was plaguing the device. Was it perfect? No. Was it usable? Absolutely. I loved having side-by-side displays. We can run one app on one, another app on the other, like Twitter and YouTube. And I love that. I thought that was a great productivity function, and I thought that you can use it for all sorts of scenarios. Now, they're gonna make that product better. Now, where it fell, and the hardware was bar none, some of the best hardware I've seen in a very, very long time. It was very, very premium. There was no question. The engineering that went into it was top notch. But the shortcomings, of course, are going to be what is it? Who is it for? Is it a smartphone? Now, Microsoft is not calling it a smartphone. They're calling it a Surface device. And if you've used any of the other Surface devices, like a Surface Pro 7 or Surface Pro X or Surface Book or laptop, they wanted to brand it in that vein. But it definitely, I don't like to call it a phone either. You can make phone calls with it, but I think it's more of a productivity tool. And I think that's where some of the other reviewers, when they made those negative reviews, I think they were leaning on the side of, well, this is a smartphone? Well, it's terrible as a smartphone because it doesn't have this any kind of waterproofing. It doesn't have wireless charging. It has a small battery comparative to other smartphones. I didn't find it bad in that regard. Now, of course, it's not going to have the best cameras. It's not meant to have the best cameras. It's meant to do Zoom calls. It's meant to do Skype and all that kind of stuff. So I think it got a negative rap. I think it's a nice design. I think they're going to improve the software over time. And I thought the battery life was actually better than I expected. I didn't expect it to be good. It was actually pretty good. You're going to get pretty much all day battery out of it. And the updates will definitely improve things. So I don't think it got a fair shake. I tweeted that out, and then, believe it or not, a lot of the big wigs at Microsoft saw the tweet, and that tweet went viral. So that was kind of interesting. Panos Panay, who is the leader of the Microsoft Devices Surface team, he saw that, he liked that, and that sort of got the ball rolling. And in fact, I've spoken to Microsoft since, hoping to start getting review units from them.
Look at you sliding, y'all. Did y'all?
Yeah, but I've had a lot of false starts with them, so we'll see in the past. So, because I've reviewed a lot of Microsoft products that have gotten hundreds of thousands of views, but they would never send me a device for whatever reason,
they have heard me talk about on these live streams about how Twitter is like a hidden gem when you want to work with brands and things like that. I won't get too much into it right now, but I'm telling y'all, Twitter is where it's at. Shout out to my man Lethal Emperor. I thought a notification that you brought me a coffee, so thank you for the coffee, and also thank you for the super chat. Thank you for your support, sir. I definitely appreciate you. Also, shout out to My Castle Life for becoming a channel member. Thank you, sir. Appreciate you guys rocking out with me tonight and supporting the podcast. You guys know your boy been rocking. We're on episode 135, so I appreciate you guys supporting and showing up and showing out each and every time we go live here on these YouTube airwaves. So I follow Erica Griffin, who is one of my favorite tech people ever. And Erica Griffin called the Surface Duo an interactive book. Would you say that that's accurate?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's another use case scenario. It's a great ebook reader. And that in that sense, yes, I think she's absolutely spot on with that. If you are into ebooks, if you like to read comics and stuff like that, it's a great little device to have with you. It'll fit right in your pocket. You have it with you to go. You could read books on a train, plane, if you're allowed to travel, and so with the pandemic, whatever. But yes, it's a definite great ebook reader. It's almost like having an actual book in your hands because of the form factor. Yeah, I agree with that.
Yeah, I when I was watching videos and seeing tweets about the device, a lot of people raved about the software, how thin it was, especially compared to what we have, the Galaxy Fold 2. And speaking of the Galaxy Fold 2, Andrew, let's get on the Galaxy Fold 2. Finally got a case for it, even though it's a half a case, but that's another story for the day.
I'm still searching for one.
Oh, man.
And I can't believe they didn't give us a case.
Yeah, I'm Samsung, and then the ones that they're selling are like way overpriced, but that's another story for the day.
Do you have the one with the kickstand?
Yeah,
yeah.
I brought both of them, but I like the one with the kickstand a lot better, so that's the one I'm rocking with.
That was the one I've been eyeing. Yeah.
Yeah. They got the Airman fiber one. Yeah, this is legit. If you guys have a Galaxy Fold 2, if you're looking for a case, get the Airman cover. I like this one better than the leather cover that they're selling there. So definitely do that. But Andrew, we got the Galaxy Fold 2. This is probably my favorite device of the entire year. This is my first foldable, so my reaction might be a little bit more over the top than other people who've had the original version. I've never had a foldable. This is my first, and I am floored. And as they know, I'm doing a lot of opening, close, hey, opening, close, hey, opening, close, hey, opening, close, hey. Let me stop. But yeah, a lot of opening, closing with the Galaxy Fold 2. So Andrew, you made an entire video about it for my listeners and people watching right now. Give us your thoughts about the Galaxy Fold 2.
Well, right off the bat, I got to say, I think it's the phone of the year. I think hands down, it's got to be considered the phone of the year. Is it for everybody? $2,000? Absolutely not. But if you're going to spend $2,000, without a doubt, this is the phone to get. Now, a couple of things. I did have the Fold 1 and I recently, I sold it to help subsidize payment for this.
Right.
I love the Fold 1. So let's get that straight. Did it have shortcomings? Absolutely. The small screen on the front was a big problem. The build quality wasn't the best. I still loved it. I saw where they were going with it. So I couldn't wait till Samsung released this bad boy. And now that I have it, and I've been using it for the couple of weeks or 3 weeks, whatever it's been so far, I have not put it down. I don't know about you, Viper. I have not put it
I put mine on the other, man.
I carry more than one phone simply because, we're testing all kinds of stuff.
Yep.
So I carry the Pixel 4 XL. I have an iPhone here somewhere, but this is my phone of choice right now. Now I do baby it a little bit because I'm a little bit nervous, and I've noticed that's a little bit scuffed up a little bit on the I don't know if you can see it on the, you can't see it, but there's a screen protector I'm hoping on the front here. Why they didn't put a case in the box like they did on the first one is a little bit unnerving. And especially now that we're spending $2,000, putting that case in would have been the right move. Having said that, the build quality is so much better than the first one. The display, which is that, I think it's a hybrid of glass and plastic. I think there's definitely some glass according to the specs. Gorgeous inside display. It's a bigger display. They got rid of that awful ugly notch. Now there's just a little pinhole on there. It's beautiful. So everything about has improved. They improved the bigger front display. They've improved the build quality. The hinge is much better now. You don't hear any creaking. It's just a win all around, I think, except for the price. If you're willing to pay the price, then there's no doubt. To me, this is the phone of the year so far.
And it's funny that you mentioned price, because that's the exact reason why I cannot give a phone of the year, because it's way too expensive at $2,000. Like, it's pretty much out of most of the mainstream consumers' pocket range, probably. But again, I agree with you. If you are going to spend $2,000 for a phone, this Fold 2 is definitely the phone to get. If price was no object, I agree with you. This would be phone of the year, but we have to factor in price because we got to factor in the thing that most people can actually spend their money on and afford. And this is not affordable for most people, but again, this phone is amazing. I think the biggest surprise for me, like I said, this is my first Fold, so I don't have any fear for the original one. But when you pick up the phone and open it and things like that, the first thing that you immediately notice is this hinge. the hinge is literally built like Fortnite. Like when you open it, it just doesn't just right open. It just you have to apply some muscle to open it. Now mine has loosened up over the past couple of weeks that I've had it, but nothing to the point where I'm worried and nervous right now. I think I'm just breaking it in naturally. But when you first get it, the hinge is like airtight. Nothing mess with that hinge. But once you get through the hinge and you open it up, it's amazing because, like you said, when you have it closed, it's a basic smartphone. Hell, it's a Galaxy S20, Note 20, whatever you want to call it. But then when you open it up, whoo, it's like a brave new world. Now, the thing that a lot of reviewers kind of missed in talking about this phone is that this phone actually does Quad HD and 120 hertz refresh rate at the same time. This is the only Samsung phone on the market this year that does them both at the same time. Now, we know the OnePlus 8 Pro does it. I think that's the only other device out there that I know of that does Quad HD and 120, but the Fold 2 is the device number 2, and isn't the only Samsung device that does it. But nobody talked about that for whatever reason, especially kind of shocked me, especially to consider how all the tech nerds are getting mad that the iPhone might not have it. But I mean, here you are right here. But I think I undervalued the impact of the 120 hertz display before I really started using the Fold 2 heavily, I should say. It literally makes your phone feel luxury. It's not something that you can see per se, but you just feel it. Like I talked about in a prior live stream, when you are using a 120 hertz display, it's literally like sliding your finger with butter underneath your finger. It's literally like sliding around with putting the butter on your finger and sliding around. It's fast, it's smooth, it's fluid. And if you go back and forth between using the Fold 2 with 120, then using something like an iPhone or a Note 20 regular with 60 hertz, you can tell the difference. Now, obviously, I think the average person wouldn't be able to tell the difference if you had them up side by side. But a hardcore tech nerd that uses them, you can detect a small difference. But like I keep saying, I don't know if I can consider a 120 hertz display a must-have. It's nice to have it with if it's there, but it's not a must-have. But when you have it, Andrew, it takes your experience to a new level, definitely.
Yeah, definitely. You hit it right, the nail right on the head. Once you go to 120 hertz, and then you go to a lower refresh rate on some other phone like 90 or even 60, you definitely see the difference. You definitely feel the difference. It's one of those things, like you said, is it a must-have? Probably not, but it's one of those things that, especially on a high-end phone like this, you definitely want to have that. And scrolling, everything is just so much more smoother, so much more buttery feel to it. It really is a more premium feel, that's for sure. Yeah, absolutely. I'm a big fan of it. And like you said, nobody's touting that this is the first Quad HD Plus display that has 120 hertz refresh rate. That's pretty amazing, actually.
Yeah, like I said, we know the OnePlus 8 Pro did it, but this is the actual first Samsung device.
Right.
And this
first Samsung device.
And this is the first device that I know. Oh no, that's this is the second device I think on the market that I know of that's using that LTPO technology that allows for the variable the refresh rate to fluctuate so it can maintain battery life. Now, the battery life on the Fold 2, not the best, but I think that's because I'm thinking about it from a regular smartphone perspective. But when I actually stepped back and thought about the battery life in relation to a mini tablet being 120 hertz and Quad HD, the battery life is actually pretty decent. I can't really complain about it, especially given the fact that I use it open most of the time anyway.
I've actually been pleasantly surprised. I have it on the 120 hertz, refresh rate. I use it all the time. I never have to really charge it more than once a day. It lasts me pretty much all day. It will get pretty low at night, so I will have to charge it. But I've been actually pleasantly surprised with the battery life. Again, not the best out there, but again, you have so much going there. The high resolution, the refresh rate, that's all going to take away battery life. But I've been actually pleasantly surprised on how it's been pretty good for me. So I'm happy with it.
When I initially thought about it, I was thinking about it from a smartphone perspective. But when I realized that, dude, you have it open like 90% of the time. And when you have it open, you're using the 120 hertz and Quad HD, you're going to chew up more battery life and empowering a much bigger display. So for what it's doing with me having it open 90% of the time, it's actually pretty damn good battery life when I think about it in that perspective. So like I said, it does have good battery life, especially considering everything that it has and everything that it brings to the table. So Samsung knocked it absolutely out the park this year. They knocked it out of the park with the Note 20 Ultra. They knocked it out of the park again with the Fold 2. And Samsung, for starting shaky with the S20 Ultra, they are ending the year pretty strongly with the Note 20 Ultra and the Fold 2. Like you said, any other year, this would be phone of the year, but it's in my opinion, it's slightly overpriced to be phone of the year. But any other year, This isn't it, man. This isn't it. I think that one of the, I think Andrew, one of the biggest things that surprised me about this phone too, though, is that I find myself using my iPad Pro less because of it. Some of the
I
things
haven't. Yeah, me too. I haven't used mine since.
I can't go that far, but some of the things that I would do
I
on my
haven't.
iPad, like check my YouTube analytics and things like that, I don't need the iPad to do that anymore. I just do it all on here, and it's easier to access, it's more accessible, more ergonomic. It's always on my person. It's either in my pocket or in my hand, more or less. So again, when I want to go to a web page and I get the full desktop browser, reading that with this bad boy open up is a joy. I mean, I don't need the iPad to do things like that. So it's kind of cool. It's kind of amazing, man.
Yeah, I have I have a 2018 iPad Pro that I've been using every day since until I got this. And what I noticed is since I have to charge it because I haven't been using it. I've been using this. I've been grabbing this because it's with me. It's there if I need it. I've also noticed one thing about the front display over the original Fold. It's a big improvement. It's not perfect. It's still very narrow for typing and so forth. But I do find myself using that front-facing display a little bit more than I did the original. The original was too small. It was unusable as far as I'm concerned. But the this is a much better. If you need a quick glance or a quick note here and there, this will get the job done with that front display. But the magic happens when you open it up.
Oh,
I mean, there's no doubt about that.
Like I said, I don't use the front display a lot, but some of the things I do use it for is Samsung Pay. Easy just to swipe up a card and pay for what you got to pay for. And my other thing, as most people will probably realize by now, is Starbucks. Got the Starbucks app on the front page here. Tap in, order my coffee, and I'm good to go. I don't need to open the phone to order my coffee. I can order it from the front display. Good to go. You really couldn't do that on the original Fold, like you said, because the display was so small. But on this, it's easy peasy. And the other thing about this phone that a lot of people aren't talking about is that when you do have it closed, a lot of people keep talking about how thick it is. But what they are kind of glossing over is the fact that one-handed use is easy AF when it's closed. Like, you can literally go anywhere with your finger when the phone is closed. Like, I know it's tall, so if you have small hands, you might have trouble reaching the app from the top of the Fold too. But one-handed use when the device is closed, you can do things on this phone that you really can't do on most smartphones because they're too wide. Not with the Fold 2, not a problem.
Yeah, absolutely. Much more usable than the original. That's for sure. I do find myself using it with one hand. Absolutely. Typing on it with one hand is a lot easier than a normal phone, than a normal size, maybe something like the Note 20 or what have you,
Definitely. Shout out to my man, Gabriel T. Black for the $9.99 super chat. Thank you, Gabriel. I appreciate you always dropping in, showing your support and love, man. Thank you, sir. Thank you. I appreciate you, baby. I appreciate you. So, Andrew, we got some big time news earlier today. The news that we have been waiting for all summer long, and when it finally came down earlier today, exactly 1 week from today is the iPhone event. It's happening at the spaceship in Cupertino. We are expecting Apple to announce the new iPhone 12. All of them, I think there's like 4 different models. What are your expectations, Andrew, for the iPhone 12? What are you looking for? What features are you looking to see Apple include this time around?
Well, I think from what I've read so far that's been leaked or what have you, they're all OLED displays, which is a nice improvement. I think the whole line will now have it. So that's a great starting point. And I think the starting price will be, $649 from what I read. That's what they're saying. Another good improvement, I guess, making it more accessible to the masses to get a nice higher end phone. Now, of course, the top of the line is going to be much more expensive, of course. I don't think we're going to get 120 hertz, right? I think that's been pretty much ruled out. So that's not going to be a big deal to me, but is it going to be 90 hertz? Do we know? It's not going to even be that.
It's probably going to be 60, I'm guessing.
So 60 hertz. So what are they going to do to differentiate themselves from Samsung? What are they going to do? Are they going to go all in on VR or something to that effect? Are they, because I saw the invitation didn't have some VR effect or AR, isn't it augmented reality? So who knows what they're going to do, but whatever it is, everybody's going to go crazy, as we know. It's going to be covered by everybody. And the last time I think I did the iPhone 11, you know what, by the time I put my video app on it, it already got all the views. All the big YouTubers got all the views. So I don't know, but hopefully it'll be a great phone, and it'll be more affordable for the entry level, and people could have more access to it. Because I think with the way things are now, people are losing their jobs, the economy is up and down, the pandemic has really messed everybody up, so to speak, literally. So they need to be more affordable. That's, to me, I want to see a more affordable. That's what I like what Google's going to be doing with their upcoming phones that they're going to have coming up.
I love how he beat me to it. But before we get there, but yeah, iPhones, like you said, they're supposedly starting off at $649 for the iPhone 12 mini, and then they go up from there. I think they're going to max out around $1,200 or $1,300. So they should be pretty competitive with what the rest of the market is doing, especially considering Samsung is like going way up there with their S20 Ultra and Note 20 and things like that, and the Fold 2, not to mention. So yeah, Apple pricing should be pretty competitive. We know earlier this year they released the iPhone SE 2020, which was $400. So they are definitely price competitive with the rest of the market as it relates to getting an iPhone in as many hands as possible. And we know that's what Apple wants to do, especially considering their transition to services and things like that. Before we talk about the Pixel line of phone, because I want to get to that before we end this podcast, given that you are a computer guy, laptop guy, I would be remiss if I didn't ask you about Apple transitioning to using their own Apple silicon chip. So we know that usually, Andrew, the biggest knock on MacBook Pros is that if you take $2,000 and if you're looking at a MacBook Pro, you could take that same $2,000 and get a much higher tier spec'd out PC for that money. The MacBook Pro is good, it'll serve you well, but you can get more value for taking out the same amount of money and going to get a PC. So I'm curious to get your thoughts, Andrew. With Apple using their own silicon in their upcoming MacBooks and laptops and things like that, will I guess the question is, depending on how they choose to price it, will that value proposition change now that Apple is using their own silicon in their upcoming computers?
Well, that's a very good question. We don't know yet. The move to the silicon is going to be a big move for Apple, of course, because now they can control every aspect of this laptop. They're not going to be beholden to Intel. They're going to be able to put their own chip in there. They're going to be able to optimize it much better, software, hardware, all the synergy between the two. Yes, typically in the past, the equivalent of a MacBook, if you paid $2,000, like you said, would get you a much better spec'd out Windows laptop on that side. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Apple's pricing scheme is going to be. My guess is they're going to probably keep their pricing where it is, I would imagine, because they're very premium hardware. They like to consider these luxury devices in a lot of ways, so they price it accordingly to that. So I think Apple's going to still price very, they're not going to do any bargain basement Windows alternative type pricing. I think they're going to be up there, but I think we're going to see some excellent strides in performance with their own silicon. I don't think Apple would make this move if they didn't think they can pull this off. I think they know they can pull this off. And I think it's a lot of the stuff they're going to release with their own silicon is going to be a game changer. And I think what's going to happen is on the Windows side, with Windows on ARM, which has not been a success by any stretch. In fact, it was not good at all in terms of sales. I actually reviewed a lot of the Windows on ARM, and I actually liked the Samsung Galaxy Book S that I reviewed. I liked a few others, the Surface Pro X. But it is, if you knew if you knew the limitations of it, then you knew how to use it. But if you expected it to do everything a normal laptop would do, you'll be disappointed because it couldn't run all the 64-bit apps. Now, Apple is going to take what they've learned from the iPad and from their ARM chips that they've been using so far up until now, apply that to the laptop space. And now the lines are a little bit more blurred between iOS, macOS. And I think what they're going to do is make a laptop that you can do video editing on, but it's razor thin, razor light. And I don't think we've ever seen anything like this. And I think what's going to happen is it's going to be a game changer. And that's where I think Apple's going with this. They don't make decisions lightly. They don't say, well, screw you, Intel. We're going to just use our own chip, if they didn't think they can do it. And they pretty much know they can do it. So I'm looking forward to the first laptops and maybe the iMac and so forth that are going to come out with this new silicon. I'm very excited about it.
Ooh, I love how you just said that Apple is beginning to blur the line between macOS and iOS and things like that. So that raises the question to you, Andrew. Do you think that with Apple transitioning over to their own silicon, do you believe that this could potentially pave the way for a touchscreen MacBook?
I'm hoping. Every MacBook that I've reviewed, one of the things that I talk about in the videos is I wish this had a touch display because I got spoiled with something like the Dell XPS 15 or 17 or 13 for that matter, or HP Spectre X360, or I can use a pen with it. I can use my finger on it, to navigate through the OS. And every time I pick up my MacBook, I'm trying to touch the display out of habit. Don't give me that touch bar. I don't want to hear about the touch bar.
Hold on, y'all. Hold on. Before he continues, y'all know what's coming, right? Y'all know what's coming. Oh, shot fired! Shot fired on the podcast.
Yeah, I made it very clear in my videos. I'm not a big fan of the touch bar. Now, do I use it? Yes, I have no choice. I have a MacBook Pro 16 that basic functionality, basic functions have to be used with that touch bar. What I would like to see Touch ID, which it already has. I'd like to see Face ID on the laptop. That's the other thing that I think is going to be coming with this transition to the ARM chips, their own silicon. So Face ID, which is what we get in the phones and what we get in the iPads, will be a lot better on a laptop, because we have that in Windows side, right? We have Windows Hello, and it works pretty well, especially on the Surface devices that are made by Microsoft and some of the OEMs like HP, Dell. So I'd like to see that as well. So, but a touch display would be amazing on it. Now, will they do it? I don't know, because they sell a whole lot of iPads and they don't want to cannibalize their sales. But I think when they're moving towards this new chip and so forth, maybe they will start to offer that. And who knows? But that would be something I'd like to see. That's for sure.
I think I remember a quote by Steve Jobs saying that he said one time that if Apple, if they feel like there's something that could exist that might cannibalize their sales, as long as they're the one cannibalizing their sales, then they don't have a problem with it. So, like you said, I think a touchscreen MacBook would kind of cannibalize the iPad sales and things like that. But if Apple is the one cannibalizing their own sales, then I think they're more open and susceptible to something like that, as opposed to a competitor eating into their sales because of them making a product that Apple doesn't have in their existing product roadmap. So I don't think Apple is too afraid of cannibalizing their own sales. Definitely.
Yeah, I think that's a good point. I think they're so confident at this level now that they've achieved that they can pretty much dictate the way the market will go. Did we know we needed an iPad way back when in 2010? No, we didn't know, but they said, yeah, here's a giant iPhone or iPod, basically. And it turned out to be a smashing success. They're the number one in terms of tablets. There's pretty much nobody else except Samsung, and they're a far distant second. So they pretty much cornered the market on the tablets. So they're selling a bunch of them. But now if they make a touch display MacBook Pro, that would be a very interesting proposition, to say the least. I would be the first in line to sign up for one. That's for sure.
I do not think you will be alone in that sentiment. So for those of y'all listening on audio only, you can't see what I see, but let me try to describe to you what I see in front of me right now. Obviously, me and Andrew are both on camera, and Andrew has a special set piece behind him. And on his set piece, I think I see an iPhone box. I see a Pixel 3 box, I think. I see another iPhone box. I also see that Pixel 4 box, which is very familiar to me because I got sent the Pixel 4 last year. And me and Andrew just got a very special email from the Pixel team. They're getting ready to send out the Pixel 5 to us. So let's talk about the Pixel 5, which is coming up. I think it goes on sale here. I think in a couple, I think it goes on sale next week sometime. So the Pixel 5 is out. Google had their event back on the 30th of September, launch night in. They unveiled the Pixel 4a 5G and the Pixel 5. Now, this is a little weird because the 4a 5G and the 5 are very similar. They only have a few differences. The chief differences are the fact that the 4A 5G has a bigger display. It has a 6.2-inch display as opposed to the Pixel 5 5-inch display. The Pixel 5 has a bigger battery than the 4A 5G, even though that's weird because the 4A 5G has a bigger display, but has a smaller battery. Weird. I don't know. The other difference, I think, is that the Pixel 5 is it has an aluminum back, and I think the 4A has a plastic back. They both will have 5G on board, so they're both going to be 5G capable. The Pixel 4A 5G starts at $499, and the Pixel 5 starts at $699. Andrew, and before I toss it to Andrew, they both have the exact same camera system, which is really weird. You would have thought that the Pixel 5 would have had a better camera system, but no. The 4A 5G and the 5 have the same camera system on the back. They will have two camera lenses. One will be a wide, and the other one is an ultra wide. So finally, after the debacle of the telephoto lens last year, Google finally includes an ultra wide angle lens on their newest cameras this year. Andrew, what are your initial thoughts? I mean, obviously we don't have the devices in hand yet, but what are your initial thoughts on the Pixel 4A 5G and the Pixel 5?
I'm very excited about both, but I'm more excited, I think, about the Pixel 5, only because I want to see what this wireless charging is going to be able to do. Since it is, I don't know how they're going to pull that off. It's all, is this a metal? Is it plastic or metal? I don't know what the body is going to be. I have the Pixel 4A here that I got sent by Team Pixel, and I loved it. I thought it was a great phone for the price. It's one of the best values out there. So the 4A 5G, it's going to have a bigger display, correct? If I'm not, from what we know.
Mm-hmm.
It's also going to have 5G. 5G is not a big deal yet, at least where I live in Las Vegas. There are only certain places where I can get 5G, if any. I still have not gotten 5G on my my Fold 2 5G. So I don't think for the rest of 2020 that's going to be an issue for 5G, but it will future-proof it. You will be able to have more 5G as it becomes more prevalent. I'm looking forward to like you said, the camera having the ultra-wide lens as opposed to the telephoto lens. It is surprising that they did go with the same cameras on both. You would think they would want to differentiate their flagship, so to speak, with their more budget-friendly offering, but they didn't, right? So, but it will have wireless charging. Will it have? I don't know about any waterproofing. Will it have IP rating on this one?
Not sure.
I'm not sure either. I think it might actually, but I'm not really sure. Price is going to be an interesting thing with this one. It's not going to have the latest processor. Right. I think it's going to have, is it the 765G?
Oh, there you go. Yep.
So the 765G will run a 5G modem in there and so forth, but it will not be the latest and greatest when it comes to Qualcomm's chips. But then again, their software is going to be super optimized because it's stock Android, and they know how to optimize their software better than anybody, obviously, because it's theirs. So I'm looking forward to it. I use the Pixel 4 XL quite a bit. I still use it. And again, I'm not a big fan of the telephoto lens. So this move to the ultra wide lens to me is a big deal. I'm not so concerned about that processor. I think it'll be fine, again, because of the optimized software. But I think people make too much of a big deal not having the latest and greatest processor. I think it'll have more than enough RAM, and I think it'll definitely be speedy. It'll be hopefully everything that we'd want out of their best phone come to be. So we'll see.
Yeah, I think somebody in the chat said that is a 60 hertz versus 120. The Pixel 5 will not have a 120 hertz display. It will have a 90 hertz display, actually. So,
right.
Yeah, the Pixel 5 coming with a 90 hertz display. So that's another difference. The Pixel 5 will have a 90 hertz display. The 4A 5G will have a 60 hertz display. Not much of a detectable difference, but I mean, if you do like the higher refresh rate, then the 5 is definitely the way to go. Again, like I said, you're gonna have the higher hertz display or the higher hertz display. You'll have the bigger battery on the 5 with the same camera system on the 4A 5G. So if you want the faster refresh rate with the bigger battery, then shell out that $200 extra bucks to get the Pixel 5. Not to mention that sage green. Woo, that sage green looks good.
It looks nice. Yeah, it does look nice. So I think there is one you need to stay away from. I think the Verizon exclusive? Is that the one? Yeah.
I don't.
That's the one there's no reason to get, right?
Woo!
$100 more.
They're charging a multi-millimeter wave tax. The Verizon Pixel 5 will be $799 because of the millimeter wave 5G. And this stuff grinds my gear because, like you alluded to earlier, only 10% of the population, at least here in the US, can actually use 5G right now. I mean, like 5G is not even viable yet, especially multi-millimeter wave 5G. Multi-millimeter wave 5G is so scarce for Verizon to charge a whole $100 premium for that technology when it's not even readily available. It's asinine to me, but you know what it is. I mean, don't get me wrong. When you're in a Verizon 5G area, it's lights out, but it's so scarcely available right now. I cannot believe they're actually charging a premium for that device, knowing that the technology is not ready yet. But whatever, that's another story for another day. But yeah, I would not recommend buying the Verizon version with that multimeter wave tax. I would go ahead and buy it from Google.
But doesn't it come in a special color, white or something to that effect?
I don't even know. I think does it? I don't know. I thought it was
exclusive. That's what I read. I don't know. We'll see. But
maybe. But yeah, that whole premium for multi-millimeter wave technology that's not even readily available. It's just that's not cool. But hey, you can buy it a lot from Google and you don't have to worry about that or whatever. So that's good. But yeah, me and Andrew both are getting review units here pretty soon. Like I told you guys, when I get them in hand, I'll let you know my first thoughts and things like that. I'll probably be doing a video on the Pixel 5 on my YouTube channel. And then we'll go from there. But yeah, so we talked about iPhone. Oh, before we go, Andrew, what are your thoughts on the LG Wing?
Very interesting design, that's for sure. I watched some of the videos on it. I've never got my hands on it. I have not used it, and so I really don't know how it would perform on a day-to-day use. But it's pretty interesting how they were able to use both displays in a very unique manner. It looks pretty interesting, and the people that have reviewed it have been very positive about it. So I would love to check it out. To me, it's an unusual design, but it looks like it's functional. So it's not one of those things where they just did it for the sake of looking different. I think it does have functionality where you can have that when it's in that wing formation, you could have the display on the bottom and then have it going across. Could have some good use case scenarios with that. So it would be very interesting to check that out. I have not yet, me personally, but it looks interesting, that's for sure.
Yeah, I agree. When I first saw it, I'm like, you know what? It looked crazy, but impractical because, like you said, you could be watching a video on the horizontal display and then on the vertical, you could be tweeting it or texting or doing whatever you want. So it's not a weird design just for the sake of having a weird design. It's a weird design which actually factors in practicality and real world application, which is much more practical than other things that have come out that are just like, what are we doing here? But the LG Wing design with the little T wing and things like that is actually real world practical. So definitely a nice device. I think it's a little bit overpriced. They want $1,000 plus for it. Not sure you want to be playing in that Apple Samsung price range, especially with their iPhones on the way and the Fold 2 and the Galaxy Note 20 out there. But LG gonna LG, I guess. So I like the device, though. I just think it costs too much. But that's LG for you.
Well, you're paying for the innovation, right? They're trying something new. And by the way, I'll give credit to LG for trying something new. Not every OEM can get away with it. You know, they're not the most popular here in the United States when you compare it to say something like Samsung or Apple, but they're definitely trying, and you got to give them credit. And it looks like the execution is pretty good. The price, that's not so much. We'll see. Yeah. You know, if people are going to actually go out and buy it.
I think part of the reason why they're not popular here in the United States is because of their own doing. They don't do enough marketing. I've talked about these live streams before. LG marketing in the U.S. is practically non-existent. Although people have told me that they have been kind of ramping it up this year. Where I think they had the Velvet on some TV. I think the V6 might have been in a couple of TV commercials. But by and large, over the past 4 or 5 years, especially here in the U.S., LG marketing has been practically non-existent. So hopefully they will ramp it up some more with the Wing, because it'll be a shame to have the Wing out there and nobody knows about it because LG doesn't want to market it. So I don't know.
Yeah, they definitely don't market like Samsung. That's for sure.
Oh God.
I think they sell a lot of TVs. They sell a lot of laundry machines and home kind of equipment and so forth. That's where they really shine. But they make some great phones that just nobody knows about, because again, the marketing is not there. Hopefully that will start changing, right?
You know what? You know what? You make a very good point, Andrew. LG, if anybody from LG is listening or watching or listening to this podcast on audio, if you market that wing how you market your TVs, oh my God, you will be in business. I cannot go on YouTube without seeing some type of video about the LG C10. That's part of the reason why I brought one, because it's literally everywhere, man. Y'all
I have two LG OLED TVs, one 65-inch downstairs and one 55-inch in my bedroom.
Boom.
And bar none, to me, that's the best thing. The two TVs that I've bought are best tech purchases I bought in a very, very long time. Unbelievable. Those TVs are unbelievable.
Earlier this year, I brought the LG C10 just for the purposes of having it ready for these next generation consoles. So I got that 65 inches. And it's not cheap, but it's a lovely TV. OLED.
No, they're great.
They're lovely. But again, if they market their phones how they market their TVs, we will be having a very different conversation, LG. I'm just saying. Listen to Viper. Listen to Viper. I'm just saying. Listen to Viper. Get out there and market your phone, baby. Get out there and market that wing. But Andrew, Mark, David, excellent conversation, man. I appreciate you. Thank you for joining me. Before we get up out of here, let the people know where they can find you.
You can find me on YouTube at Andrew Mark David. Just to do a search on Google or YouTube, I'll come up. I'm the first thing that comes up. Find me on Twitter at Andrew Mark David. Instagram, same thing. You know where to find me. I'm there. I do laptops, 2-in-1s, mobile phones, all sorts of tech things, but mainly laptops right now. So if you need to get a new laptop, come check out my channel.
Yeah, you guys should do that. If you're definitely looking at, if you're in the market for a laptop, you should definitely go check out the channel. For those y'all watching live, we got the link in the chat for you guys. Definitely go head over to the channel if you want the latest up-to-date info, news, and analysis of laptops out there on the market. Boom, there you go. Check him out. He is legit. Shout out to those of y'all that watched the podcast live today. Thank you guys for joining me for another episode of VypDrive with my man, Andrew Mark David. Again, if you want to go check out his channel, the link is in the chat there for you guys. Definitely go check out his channel. Subscribe if you want the latest laptop information. The dude is legit. He just crossed 100K. So again, congratulations to you for hitting that milestone.
Thank you.
Not an easy thing to do, but you got it done, man. So shout out to you. Thank you. For those of y'all that
appreciate it.
No problem, man. No problem. For those of y'all that super chatted or donated to the podcast, thank you for doing that. Always appreciate you guys constantly supporting me each and every week. So thank you guys for supporting and tuning in. Shout out to those of y'all that are listening on audio only. Thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive this week with me and my man, Andrew Mark David. Again, if you want to go check out his content, his YouTube channel, that will be in the show notes of this podcast. Go down there, check him out. The dude is legit. Again, if you want all the latest up-to-date news, analysis, and thoughts about the latest laptops on the market, this dude is where you want to go to check that out. Again, his channel link is in the show notes. Go check him out. If you want to support the podcast or donate or whatever you want to do, there should be a Buy Me a Coffee link in the show notes. Again, not required, but anything that you're willing to contribute, always greatly, greatly appreciated. If you are listening on audio and you happen to be listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving a rating or review. Help more people discover the show. Help get the show out there to more ears and eyes and things like that. Help us get back to the top 200 of tech podcasts, which we were there at one point early this year. Not so much anymore, but we were there early this year. So if you are listening on Apple Podcasts, please consider leaving that rating or review so we can get back into the top 200 of tech podcasts over on Apple Podcasts. And once again, thank you for listening to another episode of VypDrive. I will be back. Actually, for everybody, we will be back in 2 weeks with the man, the myth, the legend himself, Michael Fisher, Mr. Mobile, and coming back to the podcast on October 19th. So that will probably be the next time this podcast will be live. But until the next time, people, this your boy Viper, the man about tech. You know where to find me. So come back for more.